Visual impairment is something that teachers need to focus on because it's going to affect students that are in their classroom. And most people don't know much about visual impairment just because it doesn't affect that many Americans. 2.4% of American school age children will experience a vision loss significant to require special education. So that means that a lot of the students will be in the classroom. Most visual impairments are genetic, and some will be developed over time. Important things that teachers need to notice in the classroom are that some students will have trouble focusing on written stuff on the board because they won't be able to see it. Some harsh lighting might also affect them because it will affect their sight. And we need to make sure that we become accustomed to what they need and make sure that they become successful in the classroom. 64.2% of children that have visual impairments will be in the regular classroom, while 13% are in resource rooms, which, like I said before, means teachers need to be very informative of what these students need. There is a lot of assistive technology out there, like magnifiers, glasses, braille, book stands, video scanners, word processing plates, systems, and there's a lot of resources that they use to make sure that they are academically successful. And there are things that we can also observe and use to benefit them, like having a variety of lighting stations so that there's different lighting throughout the day, because a lot of these students will have light sensitivity and will need to even wear visors or shades and glasses that are tinted because the lights bother them so much. Or just making sure we have low lighting in the classroom so that the lights don't bother their vision, and making sure that when we print things out, we have them bolded so that they can read it better, and making sure we use black print on white background so it's not distracting and it's just simple and easy to read. Making sure that everything in the room is just very organized and that the coloring is very simple will help a lot also. Making sure things are big so that they can read it better, and just having verbal cues for actions in classrooms. So if someone if you need the students to do something, you can have cues like, okay, time to go, rather than just saying it, to have a action with the word so that they can see that better. There isn't really a lot in the real world about visual impairments, and I think it's because not a lot of people are affected by it as people with autism or people with Down syndrome, because those are heavily researched upon, and it's important for students and teachers and just families to be aware of visual impairments because it does affect a lot of people, and we need to make sure that those kids grow up to become successful adults and that they can maintain their jobs in the real world and form relationships and just have, I guess, just have lives beyond what they could imagine. There are instructional considerations that we need to think about for these students that are visually impaired. We need to make sure that they have good communication skills with their peers and with their teachers and with people out in the real world, because we want them to be successful and we want them to be able to communicate with people in case they need help or something. We also need to make sure that their social interactions are appropriate and are good social interactions and have good social skills, because that's important for anybody, especially for children that have disabilities, because they need to be able to maintain that in the real world. We need to make sure that they'll have a job in the future. We need to make sure that they can obtain a job, maintain a job, and in order for them to lead a normal life. We also need to make sure that they are very independent people, because everyone needs to be independent, and especially children that have disabilities. We can't really baby them in the real world. We need to make sure that they are able to do a lot of things for themselves and be successful for themselves. And academic process is important, progress is important, because we need to make sure that they're doing well, they're in the same level as everyone in their grade, that we make improvements for them so that they can be successful in school and out in the real world. We need to make sure that, like I said before, that words are larger, or they can see things better so that they understand it and can academically progress just like everybody else. Like I said before, it's very important for us as teachers and future teachers to be sure that we make sure that these students that have visual impairments and disabilities are included in the classroom, because a huge percentage of these kids are going to be in our classroom, and it's so important for us to be educated about what they need and how to handle that situation if we come upon it. And also, we need to make sure that they are successful, because they are our students and we want them to shine just like all the other students. So I'm glad I got to read a lot about this, because I actually didn't know much about visual impairments, because I had never met someone that was visually impaired unless they just had glasses. But I'm glad I was able to learn about this and do a mini TED Talk about it, and I'm glad that I've been informed about this, especially since I do want to be a future teacher.